This is the Right Pour Podcast. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lonnie.
And we want to welcome you, especially to our first episode here. Today we're going to be talking about the Widow Jane Decadence, as well as some of the stuff about Widow Jane and a little bit about New York as well. We're going to also tell you a little bit about us and our history and how we became friends and how we got into this hobby.
Yeah, definitely got a lot to cover, especially the amount of research you put into this.
Yeah, I have done quite a bit of research on a couple of these brands.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. I'm the one that I don't know if I introduced you to it, but I know I was the first one to get one when we talked about it, and then you kind of just flew off the rabbit hole.
That is true, yeah. So I actually haven't even had yours. So I've had other Widow Jane products before, but I have not had the Decadence. So
you never had the Decadence?
I never had the Decadence.
Okay,
so this for me, which this will be a fresh crack as well, it'll be my first time having this one.
Yeah, excellent. So it'll be a raw review for the history for me and a raw review for the notes and everything like that for you. So
uncut, unfiltered.
Yeah, uncut. Definitely. The definition, just like this bottle. He's going to teach me some stuff about New York that I did not know because I know nothing about it.
That all tie in with the Widow Jane Distillery as well. It all links together. It's not just about New York. It all
kind of comes together.
Yeah, it comes together.
It's got a good link to it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very beautiful bottle, though.
Isn't it? Yeah. So while you fresh crack that, I will introduce myself. So I've been sipping on bourbons for quite some time now, quite a few years, but I really started deep diving into it. Oh, we got a fresh pop first.
That's cool.
Oh, that was a pretty good one.
That was a
pretty good one.
Made me seem weak.
So, I've been sipping on bourbons for quite some time now. I really started getting more into it and exploring more of the flavors and the brands and what's out there and trying to hone in the aromas and the tastes and things like that for the past, I'd say about 2.5, 3 years. But I really started doing a lot of my purchasing within the past year and a half.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, for a while, my wife and I were living in a camper while we were building and purchasing some land, so there's not much room there to store bottles. So a lot of this...
And we're in a house now. We're not in a camper.
Yes, no, we're full-heartedly in the house now. So now that we've got that all situated and we got our dream property, I started really deep diving and getting stuff that I've been wanting for a while. And I was trying them at different bars and really trying the things that were different so I can figure out what I wanted to buy when the time came right, which was really good. I mean, going to a bar and being able to spend anywhere from like $8 to $20 on a pour, some people will say is unreasonable and ridiculous, and I don't disagree, but at the same time, if you're not sure if you want to buy the bottle, to me, it's nice to be able to go and try that.
Yeah, definitely. So whenever I first got into it, which was about the same time period, I know I drank Jim Beam and Crown in college and stuff like that.
I'm a Jim Beam fan, man.
And that's what I got into, and then progressively, some buddies and stuff like that more wanted to try more diversifying what we had. It was more to it than just what it is, and one thing led to another. Now we're here, but the one thing I like about it is that you can wrap around it in community and stuff that you get out of it.
Yep. And speaking of that community, that's how we became friends, was because of that community.
Yeah, 100%. There's a lot more to it. That's one thing we're trying to bring to this and explore with you guys is something that we do this for fun together, just talking and stuff like that. And now we figure we just record it as we do stuff because I didn't know that's something I did not know that you never had this before.
Yep. Even though I've been to your house dozens of times.
Yeah, I did not know that.
We've always had different stuff and never this one.
And that's one thing too with going. When I first got into it, feeding off what you said earlier about going to the bars and trying it, I was like the definition of like, I'm not doing that. I'll buy the whole ass bottle before I do that. But the older I've gotten in it, I will definitely, like whenever we went to Kentucky, I told it if I could go to the Michter's bar and pay $20 for a Michter's 10 pour, I was going to do it. Never made it to the bar. But we ended up going home with a Michter's 10. So I mean, it's that balance that I was willing to do that.
Yes.
And I will admit that it's definitely something that if you have the opportunity to do it and you can't afford it, I would definitely go off of doing that now rather than like you said, whenever you had your the Russells and stuff like that, you had a Russell's 15. That was worth it, in my opinion, that you were able to do that. And so don't be discouraged by going to a bar and doing that.
And honestly, that Russell's pour was a little bit pricey. It's more than I would typically spend on a pour at a bar. I mean, it was it was north of 30. I forget exactly, but finding Russell's 15 around here has been so challenging. And at $250 MSRP, it's just not something that like I can go out and just buy as soon as I see it. Like I have to save up for that. So it was nice to be able to at least try it and know what the hype is about.
Yeah.
Without breaking the bank.
It's a justified price point for that. And that being said, with this bottle, if you get the opportunity to try it, I was luckily gifted mine as a wedding present from my family.
Oh, that's awesome.
I
didn't know that. Okay.
From my uncle, that is like really big, and he's done a lot for me when it comes to this world and the community behind it. But that was the bottle the first bottle he ever gave to me was my wedding present, was this Decadence.
Nice.
And the thing was that we'd tried like Elmer and stuff that day, and I chose this one.
Yeah.
And he let me pick out a couple different things, fresh pops, and just like we're doing today. And I'm glad you get to experience that. And I'm glad I get to get it and get a video of you trying it for the first time.
Yeah, it'll be nice to see what it really tastes like. And I mean, you've raved about it for so long, so it's definitely something that I've been excited to try, and saving it for when we started this podcast as well. Yeah. So
that definitely was a very good call. And he made the call. We've been toying around for weeks now what we're going to be the pilot bottle. And he, even today, we talked about it multiple times. We couldn't figure out which one we wanted to open or do a thing on. So this one definitely, with the history that I have personally behind it, and then with him, with it, you never being able to try it.
Yeah.
Because he's got, like, I'll rave on him, he's got a lot of history to recover on this particular bottle, and I've got from what I've tried, and this is one of the bottles that I enjoy taking. We have a couple of these, I do, and it's definitely a bottle to rave about. So it's definitely one that you need in your collection.
Yeah, I mean, for the price point too, I think I picked it up for around the 80, 90 mark. I got it honestly in North Carolina, where they are more state run, so their prices are a little bit lower than our home state of South Carolina. But I do see it on the shelves regularly enough, and it's about $110. Depending on how it is, I might justify paying for that next time if I can't find it anywhere else. But yeah, it's not a terrible price.
Yeah, and that's where you're looking at too, because my rule of thumb is within 20% or $20, give or take. And if I remember correctly, MSRP is like 89 something. That's what North Carolina would be, and that's where we have bought the other ones that I have is coming from there. And I actually found this bottle last night of all things, and I talked the man into getting one.
Oh, did you really?
I don't know. I forgot to tell you. I was going to call you on the way home and tell you. But he went around, and that was the guy who asked me about Weller, and he got to looking. He saw it, and I was like, "Have you ever had it before?" And he's like, "No, but I've had the 13." I was like, "This one right here, this is gonna blow your socks off." Right. You like the 13, which that one's a good pour too. But like this one, in my opinion, it's more of a specialty kind of desserty bourbon, and then that's what I like about it, and especially a little precursor to the history lesson you're going to give later on, but the dessert aspect of it definitely ties in with this bottle. Just from the little bit that you have hinted at me, that definitely it's surprising what the Widow Jane themselves have to offer when it comes to that. So, and
the thing with it being a dessert, I mean, it is aged in the maple syrup bottles, and I have it up here on the website. It is aged in Crown maple syrup bottles, which is out of New York as well. So they sourced local barrels that they used for their maple syrup as well, which is nice. So they're trying to keep it as local as possible.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I like that. That's other companies supporting each other in the area to help grow the economy, as well as their own personal relationships with each other, and trying to keep those flavor profiles they know they want out of it. So keeping a New York maple syrup with the New York distillery, they're trying to get that.
Well, that's how it needs to be, in my opinion. Like, the state pride that we take, which we talked about with some of the distilleries that we like there locally, that's one of my selling points to me for why I'll spend $100+ on their bottle, is because of the pride that they take in looking after the local guys.
Exactly.
So therefore, it's like, I know what my money's going to.
Right.
So yeah, I did not know that, and I was always I learned that's one of the first little bingo points you can put that I learned something new tonight.
First one of the night. And there's so much more to deep dive in. So let's go for our first pour here. My first pour here. I know you're excited to always have a little bit of this anyway.
Yes. Well, also too, let's see. Mine's a 2013, not 2013. I'm on a 2023. So I'm excited to see what maybe the difference will be in the 2024. So,
and this will change once it opens up. Now, that's one thing we advocate for is fresh pops and letting them air out for a little while, whether it just be in the glass or once you open the bottle, it will change the profile a little bit.
Yes.
So a fresh pop may not compare to your opened one already.
Yes, that is the one thing we actually have discovered, which you will see in a later small little gimmick clip that we have of me and him the other night trying something that we originally hated to begin with.
Yep.
And now it's like, we're going to revisit it.
We will. We'll probably do a full episode on that one as well.
Which I actually did use that as a selling point. I don't know if the guy got it the other night, but I did tell him that. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So,
man, on this aroma, this is you tell there's that maple syrup in it. Yeah, you can, but so back when I grew up in New England, I was a little bit of a nerd sometimes, and I went to a run camp because I was running cross country, and we ran through Vermont, and this reminds me of the smell of when they had all of the tubes and everything strung through the maple trees. It's a different, distinct maple smell. Like it's
really
fresh. Yeah.
I never experienced.
Yeah.
That,
so when they're taking the maple from the trees, they just basically punch a hole in it, and the sap comes out, and then for the mass production, they run these basically PEX lines.
Okay.
All the way around. So you'll be going through the woods and you'll just see lines strung all the way through these trees and whatnot. And it just drips into there and the sap comes out. But it just smells different than your cured maple syrup out of a bottle.
Yeah,
and this reminds me of that. It just smells fresh. It's got that fresh smell.
So it definitely, like a lot of people, they'll think of maple syrup and automatically, and for me personally, Crown.
Mm-hmm.
Like Crown, it's kind of, I wouldn't say artificial, but it don't taste. It tastes not that healthy, which it's not like a good kind of syrup. But this one, it gives you that.
And we're not talking about the Crown syrup that they use.
Yes, no, yeah. The same name. It actually is the
same name, but that's not what we're talking about. We are talking about the liquor.
We're talking about the liquor Crown. Yes, my bad. But this kind of tastes like like Cracker Barrel's syrup is like their maple syrup is like healthier, and lighter. It's like kind of like a lighter.
But and I'm getting that.
Which I get chocolate too.
So you want to know something funny about Widow Jane as well? Going into the chocolate note, you led it into that perfectly. Let me pull it up here on my notes. That they were actually a chocolate factory before they were a distillery.
Really?
The same building in Red Hook, Brooklyn. So the distillery is in Red Hook, Brooklyn, New York. So Red Hook's the borough. Brooklyn is also basically sub boroughs of everything, right? So yeah, they were a chocolate factory. So they basically repurposed that building that was a chocolate factory for a while into the distillery that it is now, that you can go to right around the block. There's another brewery that I was supposed to go to, but you can basically see the Statue of Liberty from right there. It's like the heart of Brooklyn.
They got to be making good liquor if they're keeping the doors open there to pay rent on that big facility. Oh, yeah. They're making good stuff.
Yep. So yeah, I don't have the years when it was a chocolate factory, but we know Widow Jane has been around for about 11 or 12 years now. So I don't know when the chocolate factory closed and if they immediately went into distillery from there, or if it was closed for a little bit first. But yes, that building was 100% a chocolate factory beforehand. So that's kind of funny.
So was it the building alone or the Widow Jane themselves?
That I wasn't able to differentiate, to be honest.
Okay. But either way, that's pretty remarkable too. You can get that because I get that like chocolatey syrup type.
Yeah.
Chocolate chip pancakes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, but I mean, and you're getting a little of that charred oak in there. I mean, you get that on a lot of the bourbons, but it's faint. It's in there, but I kind of like it. It almost smells like a smoked maple syrup in a way.
It brings I like using the word. It brings a lot of depth to it.
It does,
and especially. For my opinion too, it's a 90 proofer.
Yeah, 91.
So, 90. Yeah, 91. But
we will give them that one.
I'll give you one. It's below 100, because for me and him, really, really love high proof stuff.
Like my sweet spot is like the 108 to 120. That's that area that I really prefer.
Yeah, and I'm most of the time over 120. It's just I love it, and it burns my sinuses up, it burns everything, but I just love it. If I'm gonna sit there and drink it, I want it. I like to burn. But with this one, with it being that lower, like being 91 proof, it has a very distinct depth to the nose and stuff.
Yeah, it does.
Which that being said, you had hinted at it, but what was the age statement again on it?
10-year. So this
10
is
years.
yeah. So they use their 10-year bourbons and then finish them in the maple syrup barrels from there.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Yes,
then.
exactly. So you're getting a lot of that. Now I don't see an age on how long they had them in the barrels, but it's yeah, I don't see anything with it that says how long they were in the maple syrup barrels, but it is a 10-year bourbon to start.
Yeah.
So it's already got depth and quality behind it.
Yes, and you can see it in the color along with in my opinion, the nose on it. It's got a lot of. It's distinct where it's not just overwhelmingly syrupy or overwhelmingly chocolatey or overwhelmingly charred. It's got a very good mixture.
Yeah, it's a nice balance between all of those notes. And like, I didn't get the char right up front, but after swirling it and letting it sit for a little bit too, that's when I started to pick up that note. But like, to me, right off the bat was like that syrupy.
I get it. I revisit it now, and I can see what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
It's kind of on the, how we said, the back end of the palate, the back end of the nostril,
right.
In a way. You can definitely.
So let's go for a taste now because I haven't had this yet. So cheers.
Cheers to that.
Let's see how this goes. Man, that is smooth. But also because it is a 90 proof. I'm used to these higher proofs, but man, I am getting tons of vanilla out of that. Like a whole lot. A little bit of brown sugar in there, a little bit. I'm not tasting the maple syrup as much as I thought I would.
I like that. I
thought it was going to be a little bit stronger, but it's there, but I thought it was going to be more on the forefront.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not, which is fine.
I like how I get that char right in here.
You get the char on the back end.
I get the char on the back end. But one thing about it is too, this one, I will say it is more creamy. That's very good. It's kind of
the viscosity. Now this isn't non-chill filtered, so you're getting that viscosity in here. We're letting that oiliness stay, that buttery mouthfeel. So I think that's definitely helping that. Which we are huge non-chill filtered people. We love that. That if that mouthfeel is there with that buttery creaminess.
I'm about to be at the point where I'll spit the little pieces of charred wood out.
Yeah, right. This is a solid pour. This is definitely one that when this one gets to the bottom of the label here, I will be looking to source another one.
Which, going off of what we said earlier, this one is a lot more creamier. I'm getting more of that vanilla cream than my bottle. So maybe something we might need to revisit both of them and see.
For maybe a little quick episode, we can do a blind.
Yeah, we need
we'll do a blind
because we'll have the 2023 versus the 2024.
Yeah.
But I want to let's get down a little bit further because I want to get an honest what is
when it opens up,
when it's opened up. Yeah, but you really like it? That's it.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, I think it needs to open up a little bit more.
Yeah, it needs to open up.
Yeah, but it is good. So, some fun facts about the distillery here. So Sienna, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce her last name. I believe it's Polish. I'm not even going to make that attempt to butcher it. But Sienna has been there since 2012. She's actually originally from England, and then came over here, like the UK, and then came over here. Cool. Don't know what year she did that, but that's pretty cool. I like to see that diversity in this industry of having some woman-owned or woman-run businesses like that. Now, I wouldn't say woman-run because Heaven Hill in 2022 did purchase Widow Jane, so it is technically a Heaven Hill brand. But what I do like is that Heaven Hill wasn't like, okay, you got to use our mash bills. No, they do. According to the back of the bottle right here, I will read, is Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana bourbon. Now, Widow Jane does do their own distilling as well, but they are still aging it. So I don't think anything that they have been doing is out yet as they're still aging it. But since they are Heaven Hill owned, Heaven Hill is letting them do their own thing. They're basically just the parent company. They're not over here saying like, oh, you got to do this, this, and this. They are like, you are doing what you got to do.
That is something that's a testament to the quality of the distillery for Heaven Hill themselves to
say like, hey, just
well, Heaven Hill, with you're looking at, they're somebody that's repping them high allocations of your Old Fitz, your your Elijah Craig's and your barrel proofs and stuff like that. They're putting out really, really good products to begin with.
Yep.
So to them, and in going there, like with the quality of the facility themselves and what they're putting out is like really awesome stuff. So for them, for a distillery and a brand that's to that high bar level, for them to buy a company like this and then turn around and give them like we're like, we own you now, but just like we're writing the checks basically. You guys do what you're doing a solid thing. So that's a testament to them that they
because even though they've been around for 11 years, almost 12 now, I believe, they were acquired in 2016 by Samson and Surrey. And then from there, that's when Heaven Hill basically bought that company, so that came along with it. So, like, they didn't buy Widow Jane. They bought the parent company to Widow Jane originally, and it's kind of like, well, we bought your parent, so now we're your parent.
Yeah.
Now they are producing, but once they start releasing their own distillate out of New York, it should definitely be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, what's cool about that, so everyone said how Kentucky bourbon is so great because of the limestone water, that's fresh spring water. That's what they're doing as well. They have their own fresh limestone water coming out of New York, up in the Hudson Valley. So they're transporting it down from the area as well. So it is New York, but still limestone, which is awesome. So it's that filtered, basically water.
Yeah. So like nobody can argue it. They're kind of hitting all the little key points.
Right.
Same thing.
So what's really, really interesting is that it came from the Rosendale mines, and so that's where. Yeah, so the fresh limestone water is coming from that Rosendale mine. What's really cool about these mines, right, that they're sourcing this water from is now that they're done. They've took what they wanted from them, but the water's still coming through there. It helped build New York. So the Brooklyn Bridge is actually built with the limestone used from that mine.
Really?
Yes.
And that's something.
Ain't that right? Ain't that something right there? So the Brooklyn Bridge is basically using the limestone that was from the mine that Widow Jane is now using to source their water.
That's crazy.
Isn't that pretty dang crazy? So
I'm surprised they ain't marketing ain't figured that out yet for them.
Right. What's also cool is the Empire State Building as well as the base for the Statue of Liberty. Because obviously the Statue of Liberty we know is copper.
Yeah.
But the base that sits
so
on.
What you're saying is if you are a true American, my friends, you need to have this.
Yep.
There's nothing more free than that.
Right? So yeah, it's pretty cool how they're kind of sourcing their limestone water from a limestone that literally helped build the area that they're in.
That is pretty badass stuff if you think about it. Because like the water that went through to this distillate and everything like that started this right here, that's some America's history.
Yes, quite literally.
So
the Big Apple was built off this.
Yeah. Well, and whether we like it or not, we're in the heart of the South, but like Big Apple, a lot of the Industrial Revolution really started there.
Yes.
So I mean, but that's insane. I did not. That's pretty cool. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah.
So do you know how Widow Jane got its name?
No, I do not.
So the guy that originally bought those mines, right? He ended up passing away, and from there, he left his wife behind, which we know when you leave a wife behind, they call him widow. Well, her name was Jane. So they named the mine later down the road the Widow Jane mine because it was the Widow Jane of the owner.
Okay, so they actually are tying the original mine into.
Yes.
That brings a lot to it.
A lot of meaning, a lot of depth into the name alone, let alone anything else.
Yeah. That needs to be advertised more. Like they're missing really good marketing right there.
Right. So I had to do a little deep dive on that. So the original owner was Mr. A.J. Snyder. And when he left his wife Jane behind, that's when they decided to call it the Widow Jane mine. And then from there it turned into the Widow Jane here. So they literally naming it after the mine that they're getting it from, which is the mine helped build New York. So from here it's a whole unraveling of history just on the name that leads into where it's distilled and produced and all that stuff. Yeah.
You really did fall down the rabbit hole.
Oh, I did. I love this. Like going into the history and finding all this information, man. I loved it. This was so much fun.
You fell really down the rabbit hole, which I mean that's great because like I didn't know that.
Yep.
And that is something that they need to like advertise that
Right?
because like, that makes it 10 times cooler.
Because I mean, if you look at the back of the bottle here, there's nothing that says any sort of that stuff here. This back of this bottle just talks about the maple syrup and where they sourced it from and all that stuff. And there's nothing, even a snippet about, hey, this was named after a limestone mine.
Like, in my opinion, because we have a lot of different bourbons that we look at, and the bottle, the aesthetics of a bottle, it has a lot to play into it too. I mean, now rule of thumb, like Cole says, the prettier the bottle, the shittier the whiskey.
Right.
But this is a very pretty bottle. But
it's simple, pretty.
It's simple, pretty, but at the same time, I feel like they need to have like a limestone mine or something,
right? Like maybe a little bit to it,
or like a mine because it does go off the Widow Jane mine.
So as you were touching on before, since they're owned by Heaven Hill, and you know the quality of everything that they do there, what's really cool about what they're doing down in Brooklyn here is that they are trying to source grains as local as they can. So they're sourcing the grains for their distillate within minutes of where the mines are.
Oh, wow.
So, like, out in that Rosendale area, they're working with the local farms there to get the grains as well. So they're trying to source it right from the Hudson Valley, bring it down to Brooklyn, which is, I think, an hour, maybe a little bit more drive from there. So they're keeping it as local, from the maple syrup to the grains to everything, as local and as fresh and good as possible, which really goes to show the quality of what this bourbon is. I mean, this is their 10-year base. It goes to show a good quality of it. I got to go back in for a little bit more and try it. This is,
I think I'm going to do that.
It's really good. So I love how they really do kind of keep everything sourced to where they know what they're getting, where they're getting it from. They know the farmers. They know everything about it.
And they can keep an eye on everything that's going on.
Right. Now, like I said, this one here is the Kentucky, Indiana, Tennessee, so I don't think this one has those grains, but the ones that they are distilling now and aging does have that, which I think is... I can't wait to try some of that.
Yeah. Whenever we're gray.
Mm-hmm. Might be at that point, but I'm already gray. I don't know about you. I am. I got some grays in there. Man, it is such a delicious pour.
Yes, I love the nose. I love everything about this bottle.
So the mine that it was named after closed in 1970. So the water has been basically being filtered through there for 40 plus years. You know, it's been a long time. So what's really cool that the area of Rosendale is doing with this mine is now they host events inside of it as well. They have, because so the way the mine was like cut out to source what they needed to out of it, they now get like this crazy good acoustics in there. So they literally will host concert series inside of that mine. So you can buy a ticket for a concert inside the mine there. And they host events throughout the year and stuff like that inside of it, which I think is really pretty cool.
Zach Top, please go there. We will go.
I mean, I hear the acoustics are phenomenal, so it would be cool to go to a concert there. Now, I don't know if it's in many big name artists. No, it's no amphitheater. Don't get me wrong, but I'm assuming, someone please correct me if I'm wrong here, that it's a more local artist and whatnot. But that's a really cool use of what is now been decorated.
They're not just like how these environmentalists say, like they're not just going in and stripping everything and not having no use of it.
Right.
They're making use as the water that we're getting out of it, clearly.
Yep.
And now they're coming in there and they're using the ginormous hole for concerts. And stuff.
Exactly.
So I mean,
because it's an all underground mine, so that's what gives that very fantastic acoustics, the way it was cut out. Bear with me as I pull it up. I mean, you can see that picture in there, well, how it's flooded now. You got all those pillars and the way everything bounces off inside of that mine gives you some pretty badass acoustics. So the fact that they're able to reuse it.
Could you imagine day drinking in there?
No. That'd be wild.
Bring like little floaties and canoes and stuff.
Right.
That's
exploring the abandoned Widow Jane mine.
That's awesome. I'm surprised they ain't bought it yet.
Right.
They need to move they need to move the distillery there.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of history behind this name and this brand that is honestly hidden, that I think people that are into the history, and if you're into history at all,
Yeah, well,
it's cool to deep dive into this and learn so much about. I was like, I always saw the name Widow Jane on the bottles, and I was like, cool. What
I thought it was a spider.
Okay, fair.
I mean,
I don't know how I got that. Fair. I'll roll with
Widow
it.
Jane's a spider.
Is it?
Yeah, like you.
I don't like spiders, so I try to.
Or no, I'm wrong. A black widow. So
yes,
but you can still. I mean, you think of that. I thought that's that's what I kind of get out of it. But
I 100% know what a black widow is. And a brown recluse. I can never say that word. I know what those are. No, but
yeah,
that makes sense. You're thinking of a black widow.
Yeah, well, I got it wrong.
That's fine.
But no, it's definitely got a lot of history behind it, and that's the one thing that you'll find a lot of these distilleries and bottles and stuff like that. You don't realize the plethora of history that comes behind it, because you got to look at something too. Just like this, it took 10 years for that to age.
Yes.
So that I mean,
what changed in those 10 years?
Yeah, you got that there, and you got everything starts from something, and that's the one thing that I love about distilling and spirits themselves, is like there's so much history wrapped behind just the copper that goes into the stills or whatever it is, however they may be using it. There's so much more that goes into
there's little stories of each component, whether it be the still or the bolt that comes to that still.
Yeah, or the janitor that sit there and swept the floors that now then ended up becoming the master distiller, and we have a bottle of that sitting on our shelves, which eventually will transfer into, I'm talking about blends, but that's basically what he started out doing, something like that. So there's so much you can get out of. It's not just something to get a buzz off of or get drunk off of. There's a lot of complexity to just the bottle themselves and what the brand behind it.
Right, and what I like is when you get stories and history behind it, it sparks conversation. So we just shared, however, 45 minutes before editing of just talking about this bottle. And that's a conversation that wouldn't have been sparked if we didn't pick this bottle up and say, what's the history behind it?
Yeah.
What's the story? And I think that's what's really cool is like everything, even Buffalo Trace, even these tater bottles, they all have a story to them. Some are, in my opinion, just more meaningful than others.
Yes, yeah. Like the thing is, like, in my opinion, I'm a huge Buffalo Trace fan, but I'm a huge. I like that kind of stuff, and there's a huge amount of history there, but that is primarily Kentucky history.
Right.
Now,
a story for another day. But
no, I'm not going to go into that.
As much as we would love to go into.
Yeah, I ain't going into that. I ain't got the hours to go into that. But what I'm getting at is, there's a lot of history revolving around that distillery, that brand, all the other stuff that they come from there. Along with that, the 30-mile radius of, like, you got Wild Turkey, you got all the other places that are out there that is the definition of bourbon.
Yep.
But this one has just enough equal amount of clout and should be respected the same because of the quality of which they're putting out. Like I said, Heaven Hill is like letting them do whatever they want.
And just stroking checks.
Yeah, pretty much. But the history behind, like you said, going back to the Golden Gate Bridge and Brooklyn Bridge, not California, my bad.
Going back to the Brooklyn Bridge, the Empire State Building, the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, there's so much history that is wrapped into this that it definitely has my respect. It has my respect more. It's kind of funny because you know how my shelf is. Some of my pride bottles, I have my Widow Jane's are like one of the centerpieces in it, and that was just because when I like them, and just that my family member had given me a bottle. But now I can really take pride more in telling the story behind that, what comes out of it. Just rather than I know more about the one distillery. I have most of their bottles except for 15 and 20.
Yep.
It'll be a while before we get those, but
for real.
But no,
we do not have that budget. We are we still have regular jobs.
Yes, no. We have regular wives too. So,
which thank you for
thank you
to them for letting us have this hobby.
Yes, thank you for that. We love you both. But no, it's something that you can definitely dive into. The now the price point and where it's at and stuff like that. And some people want to argue, oh, it's a lower proof and stuff like that. It's got enough complexity to it and depth that it really it's worth it.
Yes.
And like I would
agree. I mean, part of me does wish it was a little bit cheaper as a lower proof.
Yes.
Because at that point, when you get that lower proof, you're cutting it down with that water and whatnot. So you're being able to mass produce more of it. Now, I know it is technically a small batch, but you were still able to produce more bottles when you cut it down. So I would like to see a little bit lower price point, to be honest. I mean,
I want to see a lower price point on everything.
Yes, I mean, does it still at $90? Do I still be like and like hesitate with my card to hand it over? Kind of. If it was around that $70 mark, I'd be no hesitation, just here, take my money. So I mean, I don't think it needs to go down a lot. I think it's close. I think it is worth the money, but I do think that if they're getting a lower proof and cutting it down, producing more, that they could make the price a little bit cheaper. But at the same time, as we talked about with the grains being sourced so close to them, those grains are going to be more expensive than a farm out in the Midwest, possibly, that has millions of acres. Well, not millions, but thousands of acres. So they can price things differently as well.
So basically feeding off of what you had just said and informed all of us would be with the history and what it is of those locally grown grains, that locally sourced limestone water, with it being the history and stuff behind it, that everything is locally, what you're going to get, basically.
Yep, exactly.
Then you said going off of what I had originally said about I got a $20 markup type deal, a $20 here and there.
Right.
So you're looking at, normally like $75, I know you lend them $75 bottles.
I really do that. It's like my sweet spot.
But that being said, would you justify that, and being that this right here would be technically a right pour for that price point?
Yes, I would. I would say this is the right pour.
100%.
Yep.
So with that,
cheers, y'all.